For years, my parents adored my sister, their miracle child, completely blind to the pure evil she embodied. It took a near-fatal betrayal and a family vacation from hell for them to finally see her for the monster she truly was. My younger sister, Lisa, is truly the most manipulative person I've ever known. For 2 decades, I tried desperately to make my parents see the truth, but they always dismissed my concerns until recently. You see, my parents and I always had a strained relationship largely because of Lisa. She was their miracle child, born after my mother suffered a devastating miscarriage. Lisa was showered with affection, a beacon of hope, becoming the undisputed center of our family universe. When we were little, I genuinely loved my sister, but slowly I started realizing her incredible talent for manipulation. She was a master at twisting stories, at playing the victim. I remember one birthday I received a beautiful antique pocket watch, a family heirloom, from our grandparents. I was ecstatic. Lisa, however, was immediately jealous. When I refused to share it, she tried to persuade our parents, but even they couldn't intervene since it was a direct gift from Grandma and Grandpa. That night, knowing I was terrified of spiders, she crept into my room and placed a large house spider inside my pillowcase. I awoke to the horrifying sensation of it crawling on my skin, screaming. My parents rushed in, concerned. Lisa, the picture of innocent surprise, later confessed to me with a chilling grin that she did it to teach me a lesson. I was utterly shocked by her casual admission, devoid of any remorse. Another time, I finally mustered the courage to invite my crush, Mark, over to watch a movie. I was giddy, excited, and carefully chose an outfit to impress him. The moment he arrived, Lisa, in a cruel, deliberate act, spilled a full glass of juice all over my dress. She just stood there laughing at me. I was mortified, scrambling to change, trying to hide my humiliation. As if that wasn't enough, Lisa spent the entire evening telling Mark embarrassing stories from my childhood, making me feel utterly degraded. She wouldn't leave us alone. As Mark was about to leave, Lisa smirked and told him he could do much better than me. Mark, visibly uncomfortable, left in a hurry. I couldn't believe her cruelty. Over the years, I repeatedly tried to tell my parents about Lisa's antics. They always brushed it off, chalking it up to her being young and naive. They simply couldn't or wouldn't see her true colors. Whenever I complained, they'd dismiss me, making me feel like the family troublemaker. I eventually just stopped speaking up. Lisa remained their golden child, and I, the straightforward one, became the outsider in my own home. College was my escape, a chance at a better life, away from Lisa's constant torment. But every time I returned home for breaks, she made it abundantly clear I wasn't welcome. She'd ignore me, interrupt me at family meals, constantly undermine my presence. She'd even mess with my belongings, borrowing things only to damage or lose them. My parents did nothing, simply urging us to get along. So I started making excuses, spending breaks with college friends' families. My parents didn't mind, thinking I was just independent. Lisa never had the grades for college, so she settled for community college, meaning she never moved out of their house. Meanwhile, I carved out a fulfilling career at a multinational corporation in San Francisco, maintaining minimal contact with my parents and absolutely none with Lisa. Then, the unthinkable happened. My father suffered a near-fatal heart attack. He miraculously survived, rushed to the hospital. When my mother called, I immediately booked a flight home, desperate to be there. The doctors prescribed a daunting regimen of medications and stressed the importance of exercise. After being discharged, my father, shaken by his brush with death, expressed a profound desire to spend more time together as a family. I decided to extend my stay, working remotely from their house. But Lisa, of course, was deeply agitated by my presence. I tried to avoid her, hoping we were too old for petty arguments, especially after Dad's scare. One morning, over breakfast, my father suggested a family vacation. It had been ages. I had my reservations, but seeing how much it meant to him, I agreed. Lisa, predictably, wasn't thrilled, but had no choice. Dad made all the arrangements, flights, and accommodations. I meticulously planned my leave, informing colleagues not to contact me. I genuinely wanted to connect with my parents. But when we arrived at the airport, my heart sank. My flight ticket had been mysteriously canceled. My father looked puzzled, insisting he'd booked and paid for it. After some frantic checking, it turned out that out of our 4 tickets, only mine had been removed. As I stood there reeling, I looked over at Lisa. There it was, that sly, triumphant smile. The same one she wore after the spider incident, after Mark. A cold dread washed over me. I knew instantly she was the one who had canceled my ticket, probably from Dad's computer. I started yelling, pointing at her, explaining to my parents that Lisa never wanted me on this trip. But my mother, unwavering in her denial, immediately dismissed me. "Your sister would never do something like that." "Stop being jealous. It was just a freak accident." My father tried to rationalize it as an airline mistake. I was utterly frustrated. They simply couldn't fathom that their beloved miracle child could be capable of such calculated malice. There was nothing to be done. My ticket was gone and no other flights were available that day. While I could catch one the next day, the thought of returning home, rebooking, and traveling alone for what was supposed to be a family trip was unbearable. And honestly, I dreaded sharing a room with Lisa. I'd hoped she'd matured, but if she was behind this, what other schemes did she have planned to make my trip miserable? My father, initially hesitant, suggested they all go back home and plan another trip. But then he started talking about how long it had been since his last vacation. My mother chimed in, telling me I always travel for work, so I wasn't going to miss out on much. Their comments cut deep. It felt like they wanted me to insist they go without me, so I did. I told them they were welcome to continue, and they readily agreed. Though I didn't want their money to go to waste, it was devastatingly clear they didn't care if I joined them or not. They were perfectly happy being a family of 3. There I stood, alone at the airport, watching my parents and Lisa head off on their much-anticipated vacation. I decided to fly back to San Francisco, unwilling to spend another day alone in our family home. I tried to put the incident behind me, reconnecting with old friends and losing myself in books, turning my planned family trip into a solo staycation. My parents would sometimes video call, and I could see how much they were enjoying themselves. My absence didn't seem to affect them in the slightest. While I wasn't heartbroken about missing the vacation, I couldn't shake the feeling of exclusion, another stark reminder of the favoritism that had always defined our family. I hoped, truly hoped, that someday they would see through Lisa's true nature. And I guess my wish finally came true. If you're still reeling from that, you're not alone. The story gets even crazier, so if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens next. A few days into their vacation, I woke up to several missed calls from my mother. My heart pounded, terrified my father's health had taken a turn. I called her back immediately. She picked up, her voice trembling, deeply distressed. Something deeply troubling had happened. My parents had noticed my father's essential heart medications were disappearing day by day. It was an alarming situation. He couldn't afford to miss a single dose, especially in a foreign country where they weren't sure the same medicine would even be available. Frantically, they searched their room. Nothing. My mother, needing some sunscreen, went to Lisa's adjacent hotel room. There, to her utter shock and dismay, she found all of my father's missing medications carefully tucked away inside Lisa's bedside table. It was a chilling revelation. She immediately called my father. He rushed in, finding his life-saving pills. I guess in that moment the truth finally dawned on them. Their beloved daughter, their miracle child, had been intentionally jeopardizing his health, putting him at grave risk. My mother's voice quivered as she asked if they should confront Lisa. I told her not to. They needed to gather their thoughts, their emotions, their evidence to face Lisa when they got home. Confronting her now would be futile. She was a master manipulator. But something unexpected must have transpired that night, because they did confront her. I received a late-night call from my father, his voice trembling. "Lisa's in jail," he whispered. I was taken aback. He recounted how, when confronted about the medications, Lisa had a full-blown tantrum, throwing objects, screaming insults. Her rage was primarily directed at him, accusing him of booking a ticket for me, of ever allowing me on their family vacation. She told them that if they continued having a relationship with me, she would teach them a lesson they would never forget. Lisa continued to lash out, and the situation escalated until hotel staff called the authorities. When officers arrived, she refused to calm down, insulting them, which led to her immediate arrest. She would be released after 24 hours. Desperate to return home after Lisa's release, my parents tried to reschedule their flight. Their plans were foiled when they discovered their passports and wallets were missing. Lisa, it turned out, had either discarded their passports or hidden them away. They were stranded in a foreign country without documents or money. This was it. This was the moment my parents finally began to see my sister for who she really was. My mother, who had staunchly defended Lisa for all these years, was now begging me for help. She was overwhelmed, shocked, and utterly distraught at the realization of her angelic daughter's true nature. I told them not to worry, that I would send money via Western Union, but they had to find their passports first. I was certain Lisa hadn't truly discarded them. My parents were finally realizing that I had been the honest one all along about all her antics. They were so grateful for my help, despite having gone on vacation without me. They apologized, truly apologized for their behavior. While a part of me wished I could instantly forgive them, it was hard to shake the feeling that I'd been deprived of their love for all these years, all due to their favoritism towards my sister. So, was I an awful person for not immediately forgiving my parents who went on vacation without me, and now that they got a taste of Lisa's madness, came back begging for my forgiveness? Every day, my parents called me with updates, and my anxiety grew. After Lisa was released from jail, my parents threatened to call the authorities again if she didn't return their passports. With no other choice, Lisa finally revealed her hiding spot. Upon their return home, my parents confronted Lisa again, making it clear she needed to gather her belongings and leave. They had reached their breaking point, finally realizing the extent of her manipulative and harmful actions, fearing she might jeopardize my father's health again. This, of course, started another screaming match. Lisa hurled accusations, expressing her anger and resentment. She didn't want to share them with anyone, claiming she'd been pushed to the brink when they invited me on the trip. She insisted my parents should disown me, emphasizing that she was more than enough for both of them. It was then my parents must have truly grasped the depths of her jealousy. While they tried to placate her, she continued to yell, and in a fit of desperation and anger, she threatened to go around telling everyone they had neglected and mistreated her as a child. She was going to accuse them of parental negligence. Lisa then threatened to go to the police and make false statements if they continued to ask her to move out. This genuinely scared my parents, who are respected doctors in our community. The mere thought of their reputation being ruined by false accusations left them feeling trapped and anxious. In the days that followed, Lisa only made their lives more difficult. When she found out they were talking to me regularly, she got enraged, breaking dishes. Worse, she kept stealing their car keys, hiding them, making it impossible for them to get to work. Just tonight, my mother called me in tears after another horrific incident. During dinner, Lisa had a huge tantrum demanding my mother cook for her. When my mom, exhausted from work, refused, Lisa went on a rampage, breaking furniture. Then she retreated to her room, blasting music so loud my parents couldn't sleep. The situation kept escalating, taking a brutal emotional and mental toll on them. I was terrified of what might happen next. While I had wanted them to see Lisa's true nature, I now worried she posed a real threat to them. I couldn't even return home, fearing it would trigger her further. I was doing my best to persuade my parents to consult with a lawyer to find a permanent solution. The legal route seemed like the only way to protect them and restore peace to our family. As many of you predicted, with Lisa's increasing antics, this was bound to happen. One terrifying night, she came at our parents with a knife during a huge fight. This pushed them over the edge. They were forced to call the police. The officers swiftly took her into custody, arresting her on charges of assault. With Lisa in custody, my parents decided it was time to pursue a more permanent solution. They consulted with an attorney who advised them on the legal process for evicting her from their home. They filed a formal eviction notice, clearly stating she had to leave. They knew it wasn't easy, but it was necessary to make things safer. My parents didn't want to continue pressing any criminal charges on her. They just wanted her out. They bailed her out of jail and, heartbroken, handed her a formal notice detailing why and when she needed to leave. They made sure everything was done by the book so Lisa couldn't challenge it. Next, They went to court with their lawyer to officially start the eviction process, filing a lawsuit against their own daughter. This was incredibly hard on them, filled with sadness, guilt, and the feeling of having no other choice. The court finally issued an official order. Lisa had to leave the house. If she didn't go voluntarily, they now had the legal right to make her leave the property. Lisa is going to be out by next week. My parents can finally breathe a sigh of relief, knowing they have taken a decisive step towards getting their home and their peace back. It's been a tough road, but they're hopeful things will get better once Lisa moves on. I've stayed in close touch with them throughout this ordeal and plan on bringing them over to San Francisco for a few weeks. It's a way to give them a much-needed break and let them relax after everything they've been through. I'm sure they could use a change of scenery and some time away from the stress Lisa caused. Plus, it'll be a chance for us to spend some quality time together, and I want to support them as much as I can. I received hundreds of comments, many suggesting we consider a mental health evaluation for Lisa. The thing is, since she's an adult, we can't force her into a checkup against her will. Given her sudden violent outburst, we don't want to push her and make the situation even more complicated. As I mentioned, my parents flew down to San Francisco to spend a few days with me, finally taking some time away after the last few harrowing months. Yesterday evening, as we gathered around the dining table in my cozy apartment, my parents began to open up. Their voices were laced with humility and regret. They admitted they had been utterly blind to Lisa's true nature all these years, and they begged for my forgiveness. My father expressed his deep remorse for not heeding my warnings sooner. He confessed they never expected Lisa to turn out this way and were simply unable to see the truth beneath her charming facade. My mother echoed his sentiments, acknowledging the gravity of their mistake in dismissing my concerns about Lisa's behavior. Her voice trembled as she voiced the pain of realizing how they had failed me by favoring her. I let them know I appreciated them taking the first step. I then shared several painful memories of the years of torment I endured due to Lisa's actions. My parents listened, utterly shocked and dismayed at the extent of what I had gone through alone. They acknowledged the pain I'd suffered and expressed regret over the isolation I felt in my own family. They recounted how their favoritism towards Lisa had clouded their judgment, forever seeing her as their miracle baby. With sincere voices, they begged for my forgiveness for all those years. It was a bittersweet moment for me. I had always wanted their acknowledgement. While it wasn't the ideal way to mend our relationship, it was a turning point, bringing some much-needed honesty and clarity to our family dynamic. For the first time in years, we were truly acknowledging the issues that had plagued us. I told them it would take me some time to trust them again, and we all agreed to work through this together. For now, I plan to make the most of the time I have with them while they are here. As the days passed, my parents and I spent more time together, exploring San Francisco, enjoying leisurely meals, and simply relishing each other's company. It's been quite a journey to reconnect, rebuilding the bonds that had been frayed by years of favoritism and denial. I came to understand that their decision to seek solace with me wasn't just about physical distance from Lisa, but a deep desire to rebuild the family they had almost lost. They needed a fresh start, and so did I. My parents and I have since discussed what to do with Lisa. She is currently staying at a friend's home. We can't simply abandon her, despite the turmoil she has caused. As parents, my mom and dad feel a profound sense of responsibility towards their daughter, even if her actions have been unforgivable. We've come to terms with the fact that her behavior might not just be willful mischief, but indicative of deeper issues. We plan to explore the possibility of a mental health evaluation to better understand her condition. However, since Lisa is an adult, we can't force her into such an assessment. We plan to find a way to encourage her to seek help voluntarily. My parents plan on reaching out to Lisa once they are back home to see if she is open to a discussion. I don't want to contact her directly, as she still holds a strong grudge against me, and I'm trying not to worsen the situation for the sake of her mental health. Considering past incidents of aggression and violence, I've encouraged my parents to meet her in a public place so she'd be forced to control her emotions. Our primary goal is for Lisa to grasp our perspective and, most importantly, recognize the deep love and concern we still hold for her. It's not about assigning blame, but rather about coming together as a family to address the issues that have strained our relationships. It's a long, arduous road, but for the first time in my life, I feel like my parents are truly seeing me, and maybe, just maybe, our shattered family can begin to pick up the pieces. Not as a family of three, but as a family finally learning to see the truth. I've shared my story, but I want to hear yours. Have you ever had a family member whose behavior baffled everyone but you? How did you navigate that? Or what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Tell me what you think. I really want to know.